I'm back with you on Sheppey FM 92.2, and I've got Drew here with me from Break Even, and they help support people that have had gambling addictions or that are going through issues with gambling, or who are trying to stop gambling, or beginning or end their journey, or middle, I'm guessing, all the way through.
Yeah, so we support anyone affected by gambling harms across the east and the southeast of England. So obviously
Fantastic.
Kent, Swale, all of that, and yeah, so it's the individual that might be gambling themselves, but it's also anyone who might be affected by their gambling. So about a third of our clients actually that come through our service are family members, friends, you know, people that are looking for a bit of advice and support because they're worried and concerned about someone else in their life who's gambling.
So they just kind of, some of them, if it's for a family member and they're not quite ready yet, they just kind of getting advice more than anything.
So often that is the case. Often it might be an individual isn't quite ready to seek out that support, or isn't in sort of ready. But you know, it's about 6 to 10 people are affected by any one individual that is harmful gambling. If you think about, if it was me, that would be my wife, her parents, my parents, you know, siblings, friends,
children, if you've got any children,
So you're looking at kind of 6 to 10 affected others on average for every person that is gambling.
Yeah.
So that ripple out effect is massive. So we always want to make sure that we are supporting those affected others as well, because it's going to have an impact on their mental well-being, their finances, their life, their social circles, you know, and yeah, just their well-being.
Yeah, definitely. I completely understand that. And also, with the children as well, if they're young children, they probably won't understand either what's going on. So there's that as well, because if they've got one parent who's in that situation and the other one that's being supportive, that probably can be really hard sometimes, because obviously that parent who's taking all the load might be struggling, you know, and financially as well.
Absolutely. It's one of these things we talk about, kind of harms manifesting in sort of, I always think about sort of in 4 ways, in terms of the first one that I think everyone thinks of is that financial harm. It's obviously it's betting a bit more than you can afford, getting yourself into potential debt. And yeah, obviously if you've got children, if you are in a family, that's going to have that impact on, you know, rent, job, that sort of all those things.
Housing,
food, prioritising other things. But you can think about that emotional, social harms as well. It's going to have an impact on your relationship. If you're hiding things, if you are not being completely honest, if you are staying up late, having, you know, it's going to have an emotional toll on your relationships. And that could be, you know, a partner, family members, that could be friends, that could be colleagues at work that you are struggling with. We all know what it's like if you've had a tough day. You can be a bit short with people, you can be a bit short-tempered. If you're stressed and anxious all the time, that's going to impact the people around you as well.
Of course, it can also be, I mean, if it is, when it is an addiction as well, and they feel like they've got to do it, I mean, it can also, I suppose, borrowing money off family members or friends as well. So it wouldn't just be, if they are worried about taking it out of the home, they might start borrowing off other people.
Yeah,
there's that as well.
And that's a huge risk. It's something that we do. Obviously, we work quite closely with places like PayPal, Step Change, kind of citizens advice, because a lot of people that will come through our services have had to borrow money from other places, and that could be credit cards, that could be payday loans, that could be, sadly, it could be illegal loans, it could be loan sharks. We work with the illegal money lending service as well to kind of signpost to support there, where people may have borrowed money from less than savoury characters.
Yes, I was going to say that's probably a really difficult one, isn't it? Because that's not something that people can vet either, is it? Because if you're going through a payday loan, at least you know it's through a company. And although I know those payday loans can be awful, some of those, the interest and everything, at least that's still something financially, like you say, they can sit down with Step Change or another organisation and try and sort that out, you know, and go bankrupt or whatever. Whereas you probably can't do that if it's a loan shark and it could be Fred up the road, you know.
That does make it much harder. And it's those things, if it's, and we know with gambling harms, it's something that so exacerbates as a situation. It becomes that kind of slippery slope very quickly. And part of the thing is that gambling is unique in terms of sort of comparable addictions, in that if you are thinking about drinking, you might say to yourself, do you know what, this is going to be the last drink. You're not going to be able to convince yourself that it will undo any damage that's already been caused by that. With gambling, it's slightly different. You can think, right, I need to stop this. This is the last time I'm going to do this. But if I win, it won't just be the last time I do it. It will also fix all of the problems that it's caused, because if I win enough, I can pay everyone back. I can get myself out and I can still be better. So you kind of get trapped into that cycle of gambling isn't just the problem, it's also telling yourself that it could be the solution. It could continue to be the thing that gets you out of all of the situation and the problems that it's caused. So it's quite unique in that sense.
Yeah, and like you were saying, because you're getting that dopamine hit, because you're thinking, this time I might win. It's similar, like I was saying to you before we started talking. I think it's similar with like young people and adults with computer games, although they're not paying to use the computer game, although they might be paying online, you don't know. It's the same sort of thing, because you get that, even if you don't win, you're like, oh, I'm going to win next time, you're still getting, like you say, that dopamine hit, like, I've managed to do this and this and this, so next time I'm going to pass that level, you know. And it's probably a little bit like that.
Absolutely.
In a sense.
I mean, so the way that sort of, we don't often think about it, but the way that gambling has an impact on your brain, and that sort of that dopamine and that adrenaline rush is there, is the real spike, the real kind of absolute best bit of it is just before that result comes in. So if you think about kind of watching a roulette wheel or something like that, it's not actually the winning, it's that bit just as it's slowing down, when you're just at, that's that real spike of adrenaline comes in. So actually your brain is registering whether that as being kind of a fun activity, whether you win or lose. The drop-off actually isn't that drastically different. So if you lose, your brain still wants to repeat that feeling.
Of course.
And as you say, with young people, it's something that we're seeing more and more. It ties linked into gaming. It's what games want to try and do. And we are starting to see a big shift in kind of gaming becoming more and more kind of linked, and that grey area between what is gaming and what is gambling starting to blur a little bit. I know actually the MP for Sheerness led a debate on gambling harms quite recently in Parliament. And that was following sort of conversations in the House of Lords as well about things like loot boxes and FIFA packs, things that are quite common in gaming that we don't class in the UK as gambling. So we don't have age restrictions for. So actually you might have young people from, you know, their first debit card spending money on something. They don't know what it's going to be. They're getting that kind of same hit that you would get from gambling. You're spending real money and you don't get the thing that you want. What do? You try again.
Yeah.
What do you do after that? You give it another go.
Of course.
Actually, we're seeing more and more young people start to develop some of those gambling style habits before they've even got to kind of 16, 17, 18, when we would typically start to see those things potentially coming through. Yeah,
because people assume it's just going to be, I know this sounds really strange, people would assume it's just going to be like sitting online, maybe playing a card game, or gambling on the horses, or gambling on the football. And it's not always just straightforward as that, is it? You'll know, Drew, you'll have seen a big range of what people can do gambling, and I'm sure there's a much bigger scope than that.
And it's and growing all the time. You know, the days of kind of going to the bookmakers and placing your bets the weekend, or someone coming round to take the bets.
Yeah, the polls.
Those days aren't there anymore. Now it's 24 hours
a day
on your phone all the time, and it's everything. It's mobile games, it's add-ons within games that you buy on your Xbox, it's watching content creators streaming themselves gambling for hours at a time, so you kind of see them racking up money because you're watching other people gamble. It's online cryptocurrency casinos that people are using VPNs to access, which are then in massive rise in kind of the unregulated gambling harm market as well. So lots of things, and those are really dangerous, because we saw a kind of offside of the young people's gambling, the Young People's Online Safety Act earlier this year come through, was that there was a big increase in young people downloading VPNs. VPNs that kind of trick your devices into thinking you're somewhere else in the world, so you don't have, you can get around age restrictions and things like that. That's huge in terms of gambling harms, because what we see now is young people accessing websites that would be limited to 18-year-olds, but they're told their phone that they're somewhere else, so they can access these sites. They can gamble with money, but they don't
crazy,
have
isn't it?
any protections, because you're not having protections from your bank, you're not having protections from UK Consumer Act, so even just on a consumer basis,
of course,
you're not looked after.
I was just going to say, even probably accepting the cookies, and you don't want to accept the cookies. Everybody's got your number, everybody's got your details, you know, they'll be all sending you more information about gambling, because they're going to send you more sites that will do what you are interested in, because that's what a lot of them do, don't they? If you're interested in this one site, they'll give you another 15, 20, 30 after that, because you've said okay to the cookies, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, and we know that gambling companies look to do that. They're always looking to kind of market and target people who have shown a brief interest in something to try and get people in. You'll see new customer rewards where you might be place a £10 bet on something that's absolutely sure to win, but actually the fine print will be that will be paid out in smaller bets that you have to use. You won't actually get any cash. You'll have to spend that money in bets. So you're kind of taking someone that's potentially never bet before and getting them to start betting on a regular basis, because if they win 50 quid but they win that in the form of £2 bets, well, they have to use that by betting more and more. So you kind of it's all about getting people hooked in as quickly as possible.
They do that a lot
them tied in.
Online, don't they, as well? You'll find that they'll go, well, we'll give you, if you put £20 in, we'll give you £50 credit on top of that. And then obviously, like you say, then you're not getting the actual money, but you're still tied into that situation, because you can't then just take that money away. You've got to play it.
And it does it, and so it means that people are targeted. It means that those that are trying to stop or cut down on their gambling are targeted, which makes it very difficult to stop when you're being kind of bombarded with adverts and offers and things like that.
Of course.
And it also means that, you know, vulnerable people who might be struggling with other mental health concerns, looking for something that they can control, something that they can have fun with, or it might be people that are experiencing neurodiversities, can get hooked in quite quickly into these things because they're looking for that interaction, that dopamine hit. And
they might, like you say, they might even just be looking to have somebody there even to talk to, and because they're talking to people within that game, that's some way of them connecting, even though it's not really a connection. It's just because they're joining in on the game, but it means for them they've got that human interaction that they haven't got, maybe because they're sitting home alone and they don't get out, or they may have a mental health condition. You know, they could have agoraphobia or something.
Absolutely.
You know,
and again, we're talking today, and as you say, it's Children's Mental Health Week. And a big thing, some of the workshops that we do with young people looks at those sort of parasocial relationships that people build up, and you know, they're not always inherently bad. We all have them. We all link to celebrities, and we all trust people that we don't met, and we build those up. But those relationships that are pretty one way, and actually young people are far more susceptible to them. They watch lots of content on, you know, the internet, on their phones. They're going to build those up, which means that once those content creators start advertising gambling sites or gaming sites, or start saying, here's a thing that we should spend money on, young people are going to be susceptible to that. We know that people with neurodiversities within that, as you say, that might be at home a lot more, that don't necessarily like going out, are again more susceptible to building some of those parasocial relationships, which then leaves them more vulnerable to those influences. Yes,
of course. So with your workshops, what workshops at the moment are you running for, like older people and obviously for children as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we run, along with some of our partners across the UK, the Bet You Can Help programme. So this is a free training programme that's accredited by the Royal Society for Public Health. We do that across sort of two ways. So one of those is a full day level 2 accreditation, and that's really for professionals that are looking to understand gambling harms, understand how to have sort of navigate those difficult conversations, and signpost and refer into appropriate services. We do a sort of condensed version of that, which is a Bet You Can Help Now session, which is an hour, sort of 90 minutes depending on the organisation and how many people, and again completely free training, and that's for sort of pretty much anyone and everyone that wants to know a little bit more about gambling harms and the wide variety of support that is available out there. You know, it's not just break even operating in this area. There are so many charities, organisations, NHS services that do fantastic things that can help give that holistic approach to gambling harms for people.
Do you do a weekly support group as well?
So along as our support, we do a lot of aftercare and things. So I'll go on to some of the treatment stuff. I'll just mention as well, so alongside those two programs, we also have armed forces specific programs.
Oh wow,
So because members of the armed forces and veterans are far more likely to experience gambling related harms, we have that Bet You Can Help program, but a specific service for those that are working within members of the armed forces community. And then we run young people's workshops as well within sort of schools and colleges for teachers, staff, but also for anyone there.
Yeah, oh, that's brilliant. Well, I will play. I've got some ads that have popped in, so I've got to play those, and I will also play Bill Withers' "Lovely Day."
Oh, nice.
Nice positive one, as we're talking about a subject that can be quite difficult as well. And then we'll come back, and if you let us know where your details, so email address, telephone number if you've got website, so that people can get in touch with you if they need support or if their family needs support as well.
Absolutely.
And I'm back here with Drew from Break Even, talking to us about gambling issues, gambling addiction, and gambling support for families and friends, and also obviously the individuals' children as well, who are suffering from maybe emotional issues, or maybe because of the financial costs that the gambling strain can put on the family. So you was talking about to me just before the ads and all the music, we were talking about the treatment plan that you provide for individuals and families to help support them through their journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what's really important to recognise with Break Even is, so we are a charity that was founded on lived experience of gambling harms. So our CEO Ian had his own gambling harms. We've been around for sort of 20 odd years now, and because of that, it's at the heart of everything we do. We have a lot of experience. About a third, just over, of our staff have lived experience either as a gambler themselves or as an affected other. So it informs kind of everything that we do to try and make sure that it's client focused, that it's empathetic, and it meets people where they need to be met and understands what it's like to be in those situations. So essentially, when someone reaches out to us, and typically you access that through breakeven.org.uk, there's a self-referral form. You can give us a call or fill out the referral form on the website, and then we will try and get out in touch with that person within sort of 48 hours to make sure that we've got in touch, had an initial assessment to go through where that client is, whether they're an affected other, whether they're looking to cut down on their gambling, whether they're trying to stop completely, what they are sort of looking to achieve, and where they are in their journey. Beyond that, then we'll try and get them into their treatment as soon as possible. So we work very hard to make sure we don't have any wait lists, so treatment is accessed straight away.
Yeah.
And then we will offer them a run of counselling sessions, and that'll be one-to-one counselling that's either in person in one of our offices or one of our spaces that we'll try and see people in person, via the phone or via Teams. Typically, I think most people now do like going on the online. They like the Teams calls for that session because it's a bit more free, it's easier to access, but we do try and maintain those face-to-face places where we can for those that want that face-to-face treatment. We'll offer them those sessions, and that's an invitation. We want them to come along. They will see an expert counsellor that prioritises around their gambling harms, obviously looks after their mental health as well. And then, because it's a free service and because we don't have wait lists, if they get to the end of those sessions and they need some more, they feel like actually that routine is working for them, then we'll carry on for a while. We'll keep it until they need. Equally, if someone leaves the service and wants to come back in, they don't have to go to a back of a queue or anything like that.
Yeah.
They are straight back into that service and
It's
accessing
fantastic.
that treatment again. And then beyond this sort of the one-to-one counselling that we offer, we then look at support groups, aftercare as well.
I was going to say, do you refer them on to other services as well? So once they've done their counselling, if they need financial support, if they need to, say they've got into a lot of debt and they need to write off some debt and they need to go bankrupt, will you help support them with things like that and refer them on to other people as well?
Absolutely, because we're not financial advisors, so we can't always do that, but as you would imagine, a lot of clients that do come through find themselves in similar positions. So what we can do is we can signpost to and refer into, as I say, step change, pay plan, CAB, places like that, but also in terms of general aftercare as well. We work quite closely with places like the Forward Trust in terms of any comorbidities, so substance, alcohol misuse that might be running alongside things like gambling harms as well. But we also work with other mental health support charities and also other gambling support groups as well, so places like Peer Aid, that offer kind of that peer support, Reframe Coaching, Epic Restart Foundation, who all do kind of life coaching and that aftercare beyond treatment, helping people on those recovery journeys. At Break Even ourselves, some of the recovery services that we offer is we run a group that's facilitated by our colleague Sally, who is lovely. She's one of our counsellors, and she runs our Wings group, which is Women in Need of Gambling support. and that runs 3 times a week on Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and it's getting very popular now. It's online. There's no obligation. You don't have to be in treatment. You don't have to sign up to anything else. Just get in contact and we'll give you the Teams link for that. And essentially that's on Mondays. It's an online group for women who have been affected by a family member's gambling. On Tuesdays it's for women who have been affected by a partner or an ex-partner's gambling, and then on Wednesdays it's for women who are in recovery themselves. And as I say, those are getting more and more popular, so there's now multiple sessions of each of those running on each day to try and account for some of the numbers. But it means that there's a safe space for women to go to and talk about their experiences, talk about what's going on, but also just listen at an online call and kind of find out what other people are going on. And it's so important to realise that you're not alone when you're dealing with these situations as well.
Of course. And then they also feel like if they're in a group, they can, obviously the first few sessions, even if you're doing one-to-one counselling, they might want to talk, they might not want to talk.
Yeah.
And of course with counselling, I mean, you'll find probably with certain people they might want to tell you why they're doing it, but they might not want to. You know, so I suppose you have to wait till they're ready before they share. So like you say, you may have 6 sessions and then you may end up with 12 sessions, because till you get to the end of the 6 sessions they might not open up.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well. You've got that as well, that you know, you've got to get down to the crux of the problem, if you see what I mean.
Absolutely. I mean, there are so many stigmas still attached with gambling harms that people do struggle to open up. I mean, one of the training things that we do is often the big takeaway for anyone, I would say, is ask about gambling harms, because people don't like to volunteer it as information. People will keep it hidden and keep it because they are ashamed. There is that stigma attached to it. So it's really on us to ask people about it and to try and give them those safe places where they can open up and talk about it. So yeah, and then I was going to say one of our other aftercare programs as well is run by my colleague Neil, who's again one of our counsellors, and he runs a program called Green Shoots Recovery, which is a program that runs across a couple of weeks on weekends, and that's for people who have kind of completed some of their counselling perhaps, or are certainly abstained from gambling for a period of time, and that's a fantastic one to then go through, and it looks at that addiction in half, and it really helps people strengthen their abstinence from gambling harms completely and be able to stop it long term. And at the end of that course you kind of get pulled into that lived experience network. You know, there's a whole kind of forum and WhatsApp group for those people that have been through that course, where they can talk to each other, share good practice, share what things are working for them on that kind of long-term recovery journey.
Yeah, of course, because I think as well, it's also finding out probably with the counselling what sort of support they're going to have afterwards.
Yeah.
You know, have they got family support? Have they got friend support?
Yeah.
Have they got any support? Are they living alone with no support? And they have to then go to a support group afterwards, as in like a face-to-face, because they're going to need that extra set of people that can help them through their journey going on into the future.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's giving people that kind of that strong social circle around them, and that support network that is always around to rely on, and that you can always sort of count on to be there and help answer questions, but from people that are going through similar things,
or that have been through
something similar, and you've got that then experience to do as well.
Of course, and it's giving them the tools, really. You're giving them their toolkit, aren't you? So that when they say, "Oh, I really feel like doing that today, but I didn't because I did this instead," and you've given them that tool to say, "Oh, actually, I didn't do that. I did something else instead," you know, because they knew the right thing to do was to stop, you know, and the fact that they've even stopped, that is a big positive, even though they thought about it. Because if they have got an addiction to gambling or to anything else, they're always going to have a point where they might want to do it, but what makes them stop is what will keep them stopping.
Yeah, and you use that phrase toolkit. We talk about that a lot in terms of that building that recovery toolkit and having lots of different things to replace what essentially you're going to be losing, in terms of if gambling was something social for you, if it was something that you did with your time, it was a hobby attached to that, makes it very difficult to stop when there are other aspects of your life that you may need to replace that with and fill those in. So it's that recovery toolkit is something really important, having all those different facets to look at.
Definitely. It's the same as, I think it's the same with any like other addictions as well. It's the same as if you stay in that circle of people are you going to stay in that addiction? You know, do you need to start afresh and stay away from that set of people? You know, there's that as well. Sometimes it's actually just literally crossing the line and starting a new chapter. I think that's the thing that people find so hard, is breaking free of all that, because they're going to miss that little social circle that they might have had that they're now not going to have. And it's trying to entice them into finding better ways of dealing with it, you know, a new set of people that can help them, you know, like I said, a support group where those people there are not going to push them into something that they really don't want to do. They're going to actually go towards their goal of giving up, and you know, they're going to be able to move forward every day away from that, rather than keep going towards the addiction, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's great the choice of words you've used there. We're running an art gallery in Southend, which I was just looking at in Sheerness across the water there in later on this year, and the art exhibition is going to be Breaking Free is the name of it, and it's about that recovery from addiction, and it's that breaking free of everything that's been going on there.
Because I always pride myself on thinking, no matter what, I mean, I'm neurodiverse myself. I don't know about yourself. We was talking, weren't we, a little bit when we had the music on and everything about family members and partners and things. And like, I know I'm ADHD myself and I'm dyslexic, and I do find that having your toolkit, having your strategies, when things go wrong or you're dysregulated or something's not right, having a way that you know you can get around it.
Yeah.
And I think for every person, they need that with every bit of their life. But when you're neurodiverse, or when you're struggling with an addiction, or you're struggling with mental health, or you're struggling just getting up in the morning, all the listeners out there, it's really important to have someone you can call, that you can talk to. It's really important when you need help to just ask for it.
Yeah, there will always be that support.
There's always someone there, but all you've got to do is ask for it. And that is the biggest hurdle you'll ever face. Once you cross that barrier and ask for help, things will get easier. Believe me, things will get easier. And it don't seem like that today, and it might not seem like that tomorrow, but once you ask for help, things will get easier. Because you're not admitting defeat. That's not what it's about. You're saying, please help me. Can I get past this? And you can. You really can.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say as well, if anyone is interested in kind of hearing anything further from Break Even and that sort of thing, we've got the Break Even podcast, which is available on Spotify and YouTube and all the places you expect to find podcasts.
Instagram, X.
Yeah, all those sorts of places.
All the social media, everyone.
And
TikTok.
Yeah,
TikTok.
I don't know. We may not be on TikTok.
I'll
have to check on
I
that.
don't do
TikTok.
I don't do TikTok. I'm glad I'm not the only
it's
one.
Not me. So, but yeah, so I mean, and that's a great one as well, because you can listen to, and it's listening to so many people from different walks of life that have been through it, and that common denominator of how much better things got when they did reach out for support.
Yeah,
you know, and that's always the common denominator.
Everyone
from all those walks of life. You know, we've had professional footballers, you know, professional athletes, as well as people with neurodiversities, all sorts of things that have come through, and so often that common thing is reach out for help, and that support will be there when you need
and
it.
I just want to ask you, you were saying about face to face, and I just want you to tell us about the hubs where you can offer the face to face, because I know you were saying about online, but for some people out there who might be neurodiverse who would prefer to see face to face because they like visual, you were saying you can accommodate them in their areas, but you've got a few different areas locally, haven't you?
Yes, and what we try and do is we don't have kind of offices here, there and everywhere, but we do have our own office space in Maidstone, so we can see clients there. So if they get in touch, we can arrange face-to-face treatment there. But then beyond that, what we will try and do for people is, if they can't come to that office, but they really would benefit from face-to-face treatment rather than doing with sort of Teams or anything online like that, then in places like Chatham, I'm based in Thanet, I'm in Margate, and we see clients out of the NatWest Bank there. So we have sort of those partnerships set up where we will try and accommodate face to face where we can for people. It may not always be possible, but we'll always do our best to sort of get that in if that's what that client needs.
I think that's really fantastic, and it's been really fantastic having you in, Drew. If you just give them the website again and the email address if people want to reach out for help, and if there's a telephone number on the site, you can give that one as well, or you can just give the website and the email. Entirely up to you.
Brilliant, that's right. So it's breakeven.org.uk. The email address is info@breakeven.org.uk, and the phone number I can never remember, but it is on my back, so you can read it.
And the telephone number is 012 738 33 722. So if you do need any support or help, Drew and obviously the other great people who are working with him will be at the end of the phone, and someone will be there if you need to reach out for some help for anything to do with gambling support, addiction, or if you're just a family member and you want to ask them a question, they will be there. Thank you so much, Drew, for coming in and talking to me today.
Thank you very much for having me.
And it's been really nice to learn about your craft and what you do to help people. And this will be up on the page, everybody. There will be the also you will be able to listen to the interview as well if you want. It should be on the page. There'll be a nice photo and a little write-up as well. So all the details of Drew's and about Break Even, if you haven't got them while you've been listening today, you can get them off the Sheppey FM Facebook page later on. Thank you so much for coming in. Would you like me to play you a song, Drew?
Go for it, yeah. Thank you very much.
I have got... what about Survivor, Eye of the Tiger?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
So we'll play that one. So just this one, I suppose it's kind of for the underdog. So if you're feeling a little bit down, remember you can always get past any situation. You are a survivor, and keep the Eye of the Tiger because you will win. Here we go, and the ads are just before that.